What? You do that intentionally to me every single time. I should have it figured out by now, but I always think, I don't know, I don't think anything actually.
So, we may not look like we're sitting very comfortably according to Aspen, but there's a reason for that. What you can't see just out of frame is there a certain cat has decided to take up lodging on our footrest. And I don't know if Aspen zooms out, you might be able to see her, but she has decided that this is her spot, and she shall not be moved.
Yeah, well, yeah. And so here we are, crunched over here because we certainly couldn't move the ottoman that the cat is sitting on.
Yes, actually, Fluff doesn't really care. If this was Kitty, Kitty would freak out and run away. But Fluff actually really doesn't care that much about stuff like that.
Yeah.
She gets mildly curious, like, huh, I'm moving. And anyway, yeah. There. Does that look better, Aspen? Do we look more comfortable now?
Yeah. I told Aspen I'm never going to look comfortable on this couch just because I'm too short.
It's like an oversized couch for mommy. So, anyway. All right. Take it away. I'm not going to talk. Seems like anything I talk about today comes out wrong. So, I'm just going to sit here and share a moment with Fluff.
He's been hanging out with me too long. Yeah. But anyways, this last Sunday, we rescued a dog. I don't think we've ever done anything like that before.
Nope.
No, yeah. Okay, so we'd gone over to the next town, and we thought we'd do a little bit of shopping. We had some stuff we needed to get. And on the way back, I was driving because Brett was eating lunch because it was lunchtime. And we just thought we'd take the back road home because it's more fun and scenic and such back there. So all of a sudden, there's this little black dog, just running down the middle of the lane that I'm in, coming straight for me. And I wasn't really going that fast anyways, and so I slowed down and I came to a stop because the dog didn't run off to either side. It just, when I came to a stop, I couldn't even see it anymore. I thought I'll just sit here and wait for it to run off in a direction. But it didn't. So finally I thought, what is that dog doing? Just standing in front of the car? So I got out of the car, and as soon as I got out of the car, the dog runs over to me, right? Now it didn't jump on me or anything like that, but it went over more by the car door. And I stood there, I was like, I can't believe it. I think this dog is going to get in the car. I think this dog's going to get in the car. And wouldn't you know it, the dog got in the car and plops right on down in the driver's seat, and as if she were our dog, basically, you know? And so I thought, okay, she seems like a really nice dog. I'm not quite sure what to do. So I got back in the car, and she didn't move over from me. I kind of had to squish myself into the driver's seat. And there she sat, just as pleased as could be with herself. And so we literally just sat there in the middle of the road. No other traffic was coming, trying to decide what to do with the dog. And Brett thought, well, maybe the dog probably just lived in the neighborhood, right? And he had a bit of his hamburger left. He thought, well, we'll just put the dog outside with a hamburger and drive off. And I said, well, I don't know if she lives here or not. If she was lost, I would hate to just leave her there, right? So we kind of talked about what to do, and then well, I did suggest to Brett that we could probably find out if she belonged to someone if he just knocked on someone's door and asked them if they'd seen the dog in the neighborhood. And I'm guessing he decided against that because he decided not to do that. But
continue. I'm going to tell my version of the story after this. Please continue.
I knew he was going to tell his version. There's no way he could get away with not telling his version.
But don't continue with your perspective of what happened.
Yes. Well, we were also just sitting there in the road directly across from one of Aspen's friend's house. But her friend wasn't home. So I said, well, why don't you text her a picture of the dog and see if she's seen it in the neighborhood? So she did, but she didn't hear back from her. And then we saw this person's neighbor pull in, and I said, well, maybe we should go over there and ask them if they recognize the dog. Well, Aspen's like, oh, I have another friend who lives over there. And so I said, good, text her a picture of the dog. And she got back almost.
I'm going to stop her here at this point
I'll,
because the rest of the story kind of changed. And I'm going to tell you my perspective
No.
of everything up to this point because it's going to influence the story. And yes, there's a point to it. So we're driving down the road and I'm eating away and I'm thinking, oh, hey, good, we're almost home. And here comes this dog in the middle of the road, and being the kind of driver I am, I'm thinking, just inch forward, it'll get out of the way. Because dogs get out of the way when you keep going. But no, she stops in the middle of the road. And I'm thinking, oh, things spouses think, but don't say out loud because they know better. So I'm sitting here thinking,
what was I going to do?
Lord, here we go. Once she stopped the car, I'm like, oh, where is this going? Please not. And sure enough, we sit there and Miranda's, oh, look at the cute little dog. Oh, it looks so lost. I'm like, how do you know what I'm enjoying the day and I'm lost looks like? It's a dog. And of course, we sit there and eventually it comes up to the car. Well, what did you think was going to happen? If we just kept going, it would run off. But no, oh, look, they stopped for me. And so she goes around, and of course she goes around to the other side of the car. Now, at this point, I will step in and think, now I believe there were angels there directing the puppy. And I think the puppy was like, oh, I'll go to because it was going to my side of the car when the angel said, no, don't go over there because he will throw you in the ditch. Go to the other side of the car. There's a person there who will actually let you in. So sure enough, goes around the car, and Miranda opens the door. Now, here's where it gets a little... She opens the door, and the woman...
I was outside of the car. I got out to see what the dog was doing.
The woman God gave me seemed to be marveling at the idea, going on, I think it's going to get in the car. I think it might get in the car.
I was, but what's strange, dog just jumps into
Here's
the
a dog smelling the hamburger. What do you think's going to happen? Of course it's getting in the car. You opened the door for it.
No, I opened the
Surprise, it got in the car.
I opened the door to get out and see what the dog was doing standing in front of the car.
It was waiting for you to open the door for it.
Well,
So in it comes. At this point, I'm like, oh, Lord, where else can this go? We're going to be here until the sun goes down. It's true. I'm sorry. I held this in for so long.
Okay, laughter's good for your health, Brett.
Sorry. And I'm thinking, there's nowhere else, there's no more crazy this can go to. But I was wrong. Now we're going to Instagram a picture of the dog and see if anybody recognizes it. Because this makes sense. So I take a picture. Take a picture of the dog. Text your friends and family. See if they know who the dog belongs to. And then, with all the news stories of people driving into people's driveways and getting blown away, the woman God gave me, why don't you go knock on doors and see what happens?
He's the one who thought it was.
Now I'm thinking, she's gotten insurance money on me somehow that I don't know about.
No.
They want to keep the dog and send me out to the neighborhood knocking on doors.
So the dog was either lost or it belonged in that neighborhood. So we needed to find out.
And I just think this is the craziest. Oh, Lord, why did we stop? We're never getting out of here, and we're going to end up with... Now, the rest of the story, please.
Well, okay, so this friend that she texted her...
I just posted it on Instagram and she texted me.
Oh, okay. She posted... Aspen took a picture, posted it on Instagram, and her friend texted her and said, hey, yes, I do know this dog. There's this... I know I'm Instagram friends with this girl who's been posting since yesterday about her lost dog, and please pray, and we're really hoping to find her. And so Aspen got the information and she messaged this girl. And it didn't take too long, 5 minutes or less, 5 minutes or so by the time this girl got back. She's like, yeah, that's my dog. I'll come over and get it. Just let me know where to pick it up at. And so we went ahead, gave her our home address, and drove home. And so when she got here, she gave Aspen a $25 gift card to Starbucks.
Mm-hmm.
And
a good Adventist gift.
Yeah. Well, and turns out her husband was a youth pastor over at the next town and such. And also, what was kind of interesting is when Aspen had posted it to Instagram, there was another girl who said, oh, hey, we saw this dog at our house earlier in the day, and we tried to catch it, and we tried to bring it inside. Did they know that it was lost? I mean, did they know who was looking for the dog? No. Okay. So they didn't, but they just thought this must be a lost dog, right? And so they were trying to catch it, bring it inside and such, and the dog wouldn't have anything to do with them. What I thought was kind of interesting, because the dog just plain like waved me down and got in the car. So yeah, and so you know it kind of
At this point, I need to say that I was completely wrong, because I was thinking this dog is, we're never going to find who owns this dog, and I'm sure it lives somewhere around here. Da, da, da. And in the end, I was wrong. It was actually, I believe it was actually, God working to answer someone's prayers. These people who pray their, I don't know why he chose us. Well, yeah, I do. And because it jumped in the car and it just loved us, and it was like,
It did. We could have kept it.
Yeah, we have two cats.
We have two cats, so there was like no way of keeping it. But honestly, it was the sweetest dog.
It was the sweetest little dog.
Yeah.
It was. And I fully believe that we were, because I almost said, no, let's just go home. Because I don't actually like going the back way while I'm eating, because it's a lot bumpier.
Yeah, it is bumpier and curvier.
Yeah, but I know they like it, and so I really did. I was about to go, no, I mean, in my head I'm thinking I'm eating, let's just go home, I don't want to end. But I said, yeah, I know they like it, so yeah, let's go the back way. And 100 different things could have changed the story, and yet,
and there we were.
Yep.
And no less, it was in front of Sophie's house and Eden's place.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it was probably a solid 5 miles from where the dog had started out the day before. It turns out the dog had dug a hole under their fence. It was part terrier, part pug, and so it was inclined to dig holes and escape. And
from where was it? What?
Joshua.
Joshua. How far is Joshua?
Well, it was about eight. Joshua's about 8 miles from Keene, so we don't know exactly where they live in Joshua.
Yeah.
But we'll say a solid 5 miles at least.
I mean, he traveled a bit.
Yeah.
He got out and he'd gone quite a distance.
Yeah. Well, actually, it was a girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. The dog's name was Luna, and now Aspen is following Luna on Instagram. You know, her mom dresses her up in little pink sunglasses and things like that.
Have you done the pictures yet? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Good.
Okay, so sweet little dog.
Yeah.
But so stories like that happen, and I'm just like, I really want to turn this into a spiritual analogy, but I couldn't think of anything that day or the next day, and I'm thinking, oh, it's Tuesday, got to start thinking of something, and then finally it hit me. I was like, oh, wait a second. This is a perfect analogy for God is the one who does everything for us. Because sometimes we think, well, yeah, God does everything for us, but where's the line of what I do and what he does? What percentage do I still need to do? And that's none. Because when you take a look at the story of Luna here, what did she do to get home? I mean, she did nothing. She was so lost. This dog clearly had no sense of direction. It was not getting home on its own at all, ever. And yet, there she was, like I said. Basically, I felt like she flagged us down, said stop, got in the car, and then we did everything else for the dog to get her home. Instagram, took pictures, messaged people, and gave her some hamburger.
Yep, drove her,
drove her where she needed to go and such. So basically, our Sabbath school class, you've heard about it before, is usually follows the Sabbath school quarterly, but the whole class as a whole basically wanted to go through the book of Revelation. And so we got started doing that today. And so today was just the introduction to the book that we're using. Mm-hmm. But I, of course, looked ahead to see what our first chapter would be that we would be teaching. And it was going to cover the first three churches. The first church there being Ephesus. And when you read that, Jesus is basically telling them, you know what? You are a pretty decent church. You've got all these good works that you're doing, and so I commend you for that. But all you need is, you need your first love of me back, and you need to add that to what you're doing. But you know what? You're doing a great job on your good works, but you need more. You need the rest of that, the love with that. And so,
from a historical perspective, the church at Ephesus, when it started, was a really on-fire church, and we have extra biblical resources that describe what the church was like when it was first going, and they got all really on fire for Jesus. These were like the socially, culturally, and community-involved church. They were feeding the poor, taking care of the widows. They took it really seriously, and they had really been that kind of a church, right? And what had happened is, over time, which can happen to a lot of churches and a lot of different things, is that it got to be about the works and not why they were doing the works. And so when John was writing back to them, he was telling them, like, you had the good works, but you've lost that first love. You've lost that motivation. What got you doing this in the first place? And now you've turned it into doing good to be good, instead of the original motivation, which was love.
Right. And yet God was not condemning their good works.
Right.
And so, there's churches, people that go, oh, well, that churches or those people, that group of people, they're just all about, it's all works-based and they have no love of Jesus. We're all about the love of Jesus, but those people over there, they're not. And so we can tend to put down that sort of thing. And yet, you know what? Jesus didn't. He's like, really good job, people, with your good works. Now just add back in that love. And
because again, they had started out, and it's like, and then it's like saying, no, it's not what you're doing's bad. It's like you started it was good, and the thing's still good. The thing's still good. Just remember why you got started. Remember why you're doing this. The love back into those works. So, like, you're right, it wasn't condemning the works.
Right.
It was like, but remember, it was for love. It was because,
Right, and that's actually, that's basically what faith is. That's fully what faith is living out God's works with His love. Mm-hmm. And, so basically, who's seen the movie? Has anybody out there seen the movie Catch Me If You Can? Because that was pretty interesting when we watched that. Basically, the young man did more things than just pretend to be an airline pilot, right?
Yeah, it's based on a book. So, it's a true story.
Yeah.
And it was an FBI agent and, tracking this guy. And if you don't know the story, in brief, there was a guy who learned, he was very skillful at being charming and, a great salesman. In fact, he comes from a family where his father was that kind of a guy, the used car salesman personality. And his kid, growing up in that, really perfected the skills for that. And so he could fake a lot of things. And so it was a combination of that skill versus the culture of the day that he lived in, which was like the 60s and stuff. And he could pretend, he would fake doing things and get, the famous thing is he would pretend to be a pilot, and he would get free, he could ride in the jump seat, and I'm a pilot, and they would give him free flights to everywhere he went. The others, he faked being a doctor for a long time, and he could pretend to do all this different stuff. In the end, he was counterfeiting checks and money, and that's where he really got into trouble. That's what got him caught.
Yeah, but he was just a teenager, right?
He started out as he was just a teenager. Yeah, when he began, I think he was barely out of his teens when he was pretending to be a doctor. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, this young man, he did things that he was not. He pretended to be an airline pilot and a doctor and whatever else, right? Okay, but he was a teenage boy. We too often we put on our good works and we pretend to be that airline pilot.
Yeah.
But being an airline pilot comes from, or a doctor or a teacher or whatever, comes from the knowledge that I have learned from a teacher, from going to classes and such like that. And it's not just about the uniform that I put on. I don't even have to wear the uniform. If I'm a true pilot, I can just get in that airplane and fly it, right? Okay, so, but if I haven't taken any lessons, my getting into a plane and trying to fly it, it just isn't going to work out as well at all. I mean, we wouldn't want to get on a plane where, one, the guy hasn't taken any lessons, or he was like at the bottom of his class or something, So much like the little dog who thought it was a good idea to dig a hole under the fence and escape into the big wide world that's equivalent of us just putting on the uniform and pretending to be something that we're not, right?
Unless you're an actor and it's your job.
Well, that's true. Yes. And then you can just make a lot of money for
Yeah.
pretending.
Yeah.
So, okay. So just like I must take lessons and go to school to be a pilot, being a child of God, as opposed to looking like a child of God, comes from the external source of God, right? Okay. So my teacher is now God and not myself. And when we start living by the power of God, we start to understand that this is who we are. This is who God created us to be. And so in Matthew 11:28-30, Jesus says, "Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble of heart, and you will find rest for your souls." And then Jesus also says in Matthew 6:33, "Seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and don't worry about what you will eat, what you will drink, or what you will wear. But just be a child of God, living out the will of God," right? Okay? And isn't that, okay, and that isn't our little list of doing good things. We make these little lists of thinking we know what the will of God for us is, right? And we do know, say, this is good, this is good, this is good. And those would be things that God would want us to do, right? Okay? But it is learning from Him to be gentle and humble of heart, which gives us actual rest for our souls. Otherwise, we're always out there with our checklist, trying to be good enough, right? Okay? So we start to experience the truth of there is a God and I'm not Him. It's not about me deciding what I need to be doing, but about God's will being lived out towards me. Okay, so basically, the Lord's Prayer starts out, "Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be your name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven." Okay, so like I said before, basically a lot of times like, oh, got to do the will of God, and so we're busy doing the will of God, right? Good things. And yet, what if we looked at it instead as God's will being lived out to us? What God does for us. Much like Luna's like, "Oh, I'm lost," basically. And that's what we say to God, "Oh, I'm a little confused here." And so we get in the car with God, and God knows how to take us home, right? And so this would be more like everything, the will of God being lived out, our will being lived out to the dog, right? And the dog gets home. And so instead of me living out the will of God, like check, look at it instead of that, like the will of God worked out towards me, includes his love. The works that I live out don't always include God's love, right? Okay. So basically,
Use your words.
yes, yes.
Spit it out.
Well, I got to find exactly where I'm at here. Okay. So basically that's like obviously us helping Luna, right? And so Jesus knows that we need the help, right? And that is why he told the church of Ephesus, you know what, your works are great. All you need to do is have a relationship with me. Add that to it, right? So it's like adding salt to your soup, right? Or snow to your winter, or water in your ocean. It's like plugging in your freezer to keep your food frozen instead of just putting your food in it without it being plugged in, right? Okay, one preserves your food, the other is just going to rot. One gets you home, and the other keeps you lost and hungry. So, yes?
Well, you said add salt to the soup, and it just made me go off on a random thought. I the difference between sea salt and land salt, and people were comparing, well, what's better for you, and what's better, sea salt or land salt, and better.
Yeah.
And did you know that sea salt is pretty much good forever, and land salt only has a shelf life of about 5 years?
Oh, really? No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's because they add iodine and stuff to land salt.
Oh, uh-huh.
And that sea salt, depending on where you get it from in the world, has different flavors and consistency.
Yeah, and sometimes colors
Yes.
and such, yeah. Yeah, I have read a little bit about sea salt, and it was really pretty interesting.
Has nothing to do with it today. I'm sure we could make a spiritual lesson out of it,
Yeah,
but that's not our point today.
That's not our point today.
But one of
no.
those things, just a random thought when you said salt, I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Okay, moving on, yes.
moving on.
Also, Paul says in Romans 12:1, we are to give our lives as a living and holy sacrifice, acceptable to God. Okay, so that's a living sacrifice. Living life and sacrificing. Giving up what we wanted to do, which was like digging a hole under the fence and running around free. Well, we thought free, right? In order to live by the power of God, this is how we learn to be children of God, right? Living by the power of his love rather than by passing the sacrifice by and putting on the airline pilot suit without ever having gone to school. And this is how I learned that what I want is not what I thought that I wanted. Okay, but I learned that my heart wants nothing but to seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, because that is where the peace is at. Offering my life as a living and holy sacrifice is a life full of peace and power that comes from knowing God and a relationship with him. When we just know about him, it is easy to pick and choose the good works that we want to do. When we know him, we do his will that he has for us to do, seeking first his kingdom and learning to have a gentle and humble heart. Yes, it's different.
Yep.
So, did you want to read the waterfall illustration?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I do read this stuff before we get on the air, and when we were going through like because she does a bunch of stuff and she writes a bunch of ideas down. It's all jumble, and then over time it gets all put together. And so I'll look through and I'll be like, we should keep this. Oh, this you can do later. I mean, sometimes but I thought for this one, do the waterfall. You got to do the waterfall because I like the waterfall illustration. But this is the waterfall illustration.
It was one of my favorites.
Yeah. Do not forsake me ever. Do not forsake me. I am your true Father, the one to be sought after at all times and all situations, for I do have the solutions to every problem you have. I do not want you to twist yourself up over things of no consequence. I'm going to say that one again because that was one of my favorite lines. I do not want you to twist yourself up over things of no consequence. When you twist yourself up, your path becomes twisted. Remain at peace with me, your true Father, and your path remains straight even when you can't see around the next bend in the road. I am there straightening all of your paths for you. You have nothing to fear or to worry about, for all things do work together for the good of those that love me. I do love you, and I do take care of you, do I not? And then
Description. Change of voice.
Yeah. I see myself standing near a tall waterfall surrounded by lush greenery. I wonder, how do I get to the top? It looks impossible because the top disappears into the sun. When you feel lost, you often panic and don't know what to do. But your lostness is the time for you to return to me. I know the way out, for I see all things. Remember, I am the way, the truth, and the door. Enter through me, and you have eternal life. Remember, do not panic in your state of not being able to find a way out. I am the way. I am the truth. I am the door. Do not seek the way out. Seek me. I am the door into all secrets of the depths of my truth and who I am. Seek me, and I provide the way out of your lost condition. But do not panic. Panic is fear-based and will cause you to take the wide path that leads to destruction. Do you see the pool at the base of the waterfall? Change of way. Yes, I can see it now. Faith clears the way. The way of escape is often hidden from view and when revealed looks impossible. Here the way of escape lies through the pool. Yes, I know one moment it looks dark and foreboding and the next it looks as pristine as sunlit. Bigger every time you see it. Clear blue water's pool. It is both. But you must enter it when it is dark and foreboding, believing it at the same time the sunlight crystal clear water. I have no other plans for you but for you to enter this way of living out my truth in utter humility to me. In utter quietness of your soul, in the place of entire submission to me, I want you to enter the dark waters and follow me. I am the way, I am the door. All who enter through me have eternal life.
I just thought that went well with what we were talking about today, and it also went with what we talked about last week with the doors and such. So,
yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, there you have it.
Yeah.
So it was a really nice day here in Texas. Although you say it was blizzard in Colorado. I thought you said Joey was saying it was snowing or something.
Yeah, it was this last week, I think it was. Yeah.
And I know it's like blizzard up north in like Indiana.
Oh, yeah. I saw Nebraska too. It was really cold in Nebraska, like 5 or 6 degrees or something like that. Oh, so cold.
So we hope you're staying warm wherever you're at. And if you're down here in Texas, not too warm. But yeah, we have to get out and go to the botanical gardens and all kinds of stuff. We have to get out and show you guys a little more of what there is around here.
Yes, and the bluebonnets will be blooming early this year, so hopefully we'll be seeing those in a week or two.
Yeah, that'll be fun. We're going to take a road trip and do Salt on the Road.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us. Hope you had a great Sabbath and have an awesome week.